Welcome to the Mansuri Review, where we go beyond the headlines, breaking down interviews from the Mansuri Show on ARY Digital TV Network USA, and analyze articles from Pakistan Link and Udo Link. Today, we're diving deep into a recent interview from the Mansuri Show. This one featured Mr. Muhammad Hanif Chnna.
Right, the Minister of Trade and Investment at the Embassy of Pakistan in D.C.
Exactly. And you shared this, wanting us to really get a clearer picture, of the current state and potential future of trade and investment between the U.S. and Pakistan.
Yeah, that's the goal for this deep dive. So pull out those key insights, the opportunities discussed. What's really going on?
And it's interesting, he only started the role in April 2025, so it's a pretty fresh perspective.
Absolutely. And his background is quite something. Additional Chief Secretary of Development, Secretary of Finance in Gilgit-Baltistan.
Yeah.
That's serious public service experience.
Plus the academic side, international development from Japan, an MPA from Harvard focused on economic policy.
That combination, the practical and the academic, you can see how it would shape his approach to, fostering trade and investment.
Definitely. So the core question we need to unpack is, what did the minister identify as the major trends, the opportunities, and the challenges in U.S.-Pakistan trade and investment right now?
Well, he kicked things off on a positive note, actually, talking about trade trends.
What specifically?
He pointed out that overall trade in goods between the U.S. and Pakistan, it's growing. About 10 to 11% compared to the same period the last 8 months of the previous fiscal year.
Okay, 10-11% growth in goods. That's solid.
It is. But then he highlighted trade in services, and that's where things get even more interesting, particularly IT services.
Right, I saw that figure. It was something like 36% growth in the U.S. market alone.
Exactly, 36% in the same period. That's pretty significant growth.
Huge. And he attributed that mostly to Pakistani traders in the private sector, right? With his office focusing on facilitation.
Yeah, he emphasized that. His team's role is more about, smoothing the path, facilitating market access, rather than directly driving the deals themselves.
You are listening to the Mansuri Review.
And speaking of market access, he gave some concrete examples of what that facilitation looks like.
Like the shrimp?
Yeah, the Pakistani shrimp. Specifically, the aquaculture or freshwater cultured kind, which had face bans. They're working to get that into the U.S. market.
And dried dates, too, from places like Baluchistan?
Exactly. These aren't, massive global commodities necessarily, but for those specific regions and producers, gaining U.S. market access is a huge deal.
Plus, they're apparently working with the USDA and FDA on fresh dates as well. That sounds like a longer game.
It shows a proactive approach, doesn't it? Not just dealing with existing issues, but looking ahead to expand the range of products. It's about chipping away at those barriers.
He also talked about how the different ministries work together. His, Commerce, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
He clarified that relationship. Basically, the ambassador's office, reporting to Foreign Affairs, provides crucial support. Opening doors, making introductions.
Amplifying their efforts, as he put it. So it's teamwork.
Definitely. You need that diplomatic muscle behind the trade initiatives.
Okay, so let's shift to his top priorities for actually growing trade and investment moving forward. What came first?
Value addition in agriculture. That was number one.
So moving beyond just exporting raw stuff.
Precisely. He used mangoes and guavas as examples. Pakistan produces high-quality ones. But instead of just shipping the fruit,
they want to process it into dried mangoes, mango pulp, juice, guava juice, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Higher value products, taps into bigger market segments, potentially more profitable. Makes sense.
Okay, agriculture value add. What was next?
Investment in minerals. This seemed like a big one.
Pakistan's mineral sector. Is there a lot of potential there?
Apparently, yes. He stressed the significant potential and said the government is actively encouraging U.S. and other foreign companies to invest.
How are they encouraging that?
They're planning a mineral conference in Pakistan soon. They expect participation from the U.S. government and private sector companies, too.
Interesting. That could be a major focus area, then. Minerals.
Seems like it. Feels like they see a real opportunity there.
And the third priority.
Back to the IT sector, re-emphasizing that growth.
You are listening to the Mansuri Review.
And really hammering home the cost-effectiveness point. He said Pakistan is like 70% cheaper than the U.S. for IT services.
70%?
And even compared to regional competitors like India, perhaps. He said 25-30% cheaper.
That's a compelling argument for businesses looking at outsourcing or setting up development hubs.
For sure. And he linked that directly to the 35% growth they've seen in the sector compared to last year. The numbers seem to back it up.
Let's talk about U.S. tariffs. How does the minister see their impact? Does he view it as an obstacle?
He actually framed it more in terms of mutual benefit. His core message was that trade is, a two-way street.
How so? What examples did he use?
The cotton and apparel example was quite clear. The U.S. is a major supplier of raw cotton to Pakistan.
Right, which Pakistan then uses to manufacture apparel.
Which is then exported back to the U.S. So it's a cycle. Both sides benefit.
A win-win, as he put it.
Exactly. He also mentioned Pakistan recently opening its market to U.S. soybeans.
Yes, for the poultry sector, I think.
Right. Helping Pakistan's poultry industry, but also, importantly, supporting U.S. farmers who might be facing challenges from tariffs elsewhere.
That sounds quite strategic.
It does. And there's even talk about potentially importing more U.S. cotton.
Yeah.
If Pakistani textiles get better tariff treatment in the U.S. Kind of a quid pro quo suggestion.
Interesting. And the soybean thing, he mentioned Pakistan aiming to be a regional hub for processing.
Yeah, adding another layer of potential value there beyond just importing for domestic use, processing and re-exporting.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. There are often concerns, sometimes rumors, about travel restrictions. Did he address the possibility of a travel ban?
He did. He stated pretty clearly that based on communication from both the Pakistani Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the U.S. State Department or White House, there's no imminent travel ban expected.
That's reassuring for business ties, I imagine.
Definitely. Uncertainty there isn't helpful. He also added that even if, hypothetically, something were to happen, he felt it was unlikely to affect business travelers and entrepreneurs.
Why that?
Because they're vital to the bilateral trade relationship. There's an understanding of their importance.
You are listening to the Mansuri Review. Okay, so beyond the big three, agriculture, minerals, IT, what other sectors did he highlight as having high potential for investment?
He pointed back to some of Pakistan's traditional strengths. Textiles and apparel, obviously.
Still important.
Very. But also surgical goods and sports goods.
Surgical goods. That's specific.
Yeah, he emphasized the quality there, saying they're high quality but significantly cheaper than what you'd get from, say, European or American manufacturers.
So a potential cost saving for healthcare systems buying from Pakistan.
That seems to be the implication. Same logic for sports goods, another area where Pakistan has a strong manufacturing base.
But it's not all smooth sailing. What challenges did he acknowledge for exporters and investors?
A key one was an information gap.
Meaning
U.S. importers, especially in newer sectors beyond textiles, sometimes just don't know where to find credible, quality Pakistani exporters. There's a lack of connection or reliable information.
How are they trying to fix that?
Trade fairs, delegations, basically facilitating those face-to-face connections. He mentioned a health, engineering, and mineral show planned for Lahore specifically to bridge this gap.
Makes sense, bringing buyers and sellers together.
Another challenge, or perhaps an opportunity, was engaging the Pakistani-American business community more effectively.
How does he see their role?
As key ambassadors. He said his office is actively engaging with them through forums and working groups.
To do what? Identify potential partners back in the U.S.
Exactly. Help identify potential importers, investors, people who might be interested in what Pakistan has to offer, leveraging the diaspora's connections and understanding of both markets.
That seems like a smart strategy, tapping into that built-in network.
It really is. They can be invaluable bridges.
Were there any specific major breakthroughs he pointed to recently?
He circled back to the minerals sector. He framed the growing U.S. interest in Pakistan's minerals and that upcoming conference as really significant positive developments.
So that's where he sees the potential for a big shift.
It sounds like it. He spoke about the potential for large-scale investment coming out of that increased interest. That feels like a major focus.
And just briefly on the minister himself, his motivation, we touched on his background.
Yeah, he linked his diverse experience in Pakistan's administrative services and his international education as giving him a strong foundation. He basically expressed that it's an opportunity to serve Pakistan and bring positive change to this role, a sense of duty.
Okay, so if he had 30 seconds in an elevator with a potential investor, what's the pitch?
He summed it up pretty well. He'd highlight Pakistan as a large, young, English-speaking market.
Key demographics.
Right, plus a vibrant entrepreneurial spirit, especially in that cost-effective IT and software development space.
And the other sectors.
And then he definitely pushed the significant opportunities in minerals and agriculture, adding that bit about how investment there could contribute to regional and even global food security.
Adding that wider impact angle. Interesting.
You are listening to the Mansuri Review. Finally, he had a direct message for the Pakistani-American business community.
What was the takeaway for them?
Recognition, first off. Acknowledging the crucial role they play in representing Pakistan at the grassroots level in the U.S.
And a call to action.
Yes. Encouraging them to actively help identify potential investors, particularly for those key sectors. Minerals, IT, sports goods, surgical goods, and also companies that might be looking to relocate back-office operations, given Pakistan's cost advantage.
So really asking them to be proactive partners in this effort.
Exactly, to leverage their position, to make those connections happen.
Okay, so wrapping this up. As we've unpacked this conversation with Minister Chenna, it really feels like the U.S.-Pakistan economic relationship is, well, dynamic. Lots happening.
Definitely potential there. The focus seems strategic, increasing trade volume, yes, but specifically through things like value addition in agriculture. And really trying to attract investment into those growth sectors like IT and minerals.
And the efforts to tackle specific market access problems like the shrimp and dates and actively engaging the diaspora, it suggests a practical, hands-on approach.
It does. And despite the complexities of the global economy, maybe some background noise about travel concerns, the minister's tone was generally optimistic, forward-looking.
Yeah, a sense of resilience there.
So hopefully this deep dive into the Mansuri Show interview gives our listeners a valuable snapshot, a clearer picture of the priorities and the progress, or at least the intended progress, in U.S.-Pakistan trade and investment.
We hope it's provided some clarity and maybe sparked a few aha moments about what's driving this economic relationship. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Mansuri Review. Please keep watching the Mansuri Show on ARY Digital TV Network. Keep reading the Pakistan link and Urdu link, and please stay connected with Pakistan.